This video is one part of a longer video essay. To watch the full essay, click the info link in the video, or to watch the next segment, click the thumbnail at the end of the video. Greetings, friends and foes, brothers and sisters, stalwarts and stragglers. Welcome to the Brand X Report. I'm your host, Mashur Rayner, aka Mashur X. This series is called Parting the Veil. While there's an element of faith in all the content on this channel, in this series we examine things in greater detail and pull back the curtain to reveal the spiritual infrastructure underneath the political and social dynamics that we experience in the material world. The scope through which we'll examine the reality beneath reality is the gospel of Jesus Christ.
In June 1979, Jerry Falwell Sr., a flamboyant Baptist minister, announced his intentions to build one of the most powerful political coalitions in American history. The moral majority, as it would later be tagged, was not only instrumental in the election of Ronald Reagan, it also forged this bond between the Republican Party and Christian fundamentalist groups that persist till this day.
We need to be the party of nationalism, and I'm a Christian and I say it proudly. We should be Christian nationalists.
The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk.
If you clicked on the thumbnail, one would imagine you have an interest in today's subject. You may have noticed that polarization is increasing around the world and accelerating daily. Whether you're a person of faith or not, you're liable to get impacted by it. To my brothers and sisters who identify as non-believers or as liberal-leaning believers, you're likely to find the information informative, even if you've already noticed some of the substance of this essay. To my brothers and sisters who identify as both politically conservative and as Christian, due to our social structure at this time of hyper-partisanship, you're even more likely to find this of value if you give it sincere consideration. To you I ask, whom do you serve? America is the world's vanguard laboratory of democracy, and the face of conservatism within her borders is changing. It's drawing a line in the sand. That line is called Christian nationalism.
The term Christian nationalism has been thrown around a lot lately, most of the time as a way to dismiss or mock anyone who wants to engage in politics as a Christian. But those of us who look to the broad Christian tradition should seize the term for ourselves. We are indeed Christian nationalists. The nation is not a mere collection of people, but a people united around a set of shared loves. Some of these loves are universal in all nations, such as the love of family and home. Other loves are more particular to each nation, such as shared culture, language, and national struggles and achievements. Together, these loves form a nation's way of life, generating a love for the place in which you and your ancestors conducted that way of life.
But it's all part of a fabric. It's all part of a fabric that says that when a certain kind of Christian belief says that you're not supposed to act in a certain way, the people who hold that belief can get states on their side to impose coercion. And when you have people imposing their beliefs coercively, we're in trouble.
Whatever it once was, conservatism as embodied by the Republican Party of the United States is an ideology that has deteriorated into a movement defined by hatred. Hatred of immigrants whom they call invaders. Hatred of people of color whose extrajudicial executions are excused by an unwarranted fear for life or stand your ground permission. Hatred of teachers and librarians whom they call groomers and pedophiles. Hatred of education which they denounce as indoctrination. Hatred of decency and consideration for others which they revile as wokeness. Hatred of women who have the audacity to report sexual violation or otherwise demand bodily autonomy. Hatred of shooting survivors whom they harass and slander as crisis actors. Hatred of the freedom of others which they call oppression and tyranny. Hatred of doctors and other medical professionals, hatred of the LGBTQ+, hatred of the media, hatred of liberals, hatred of even other conservatives who aren't sufficiently full of hatred. Bigotry is never satisfied. It constantly seeks a reason to exclude. Everybody's an enemy. It's inevitable that the movement will collapse in on itself. Self-destruction is guaranteed. We're witnessing it in real time. However, the collateral destruction that will precede the collapse should be of concern to all who are interested in the welfare of society. Honest, well-intentioned conservatives ought to be aware and supported in rehabilitating their impaired body. Contemporary conservatism actively seeks to cause harm to those not on board, and cause harm it does. It pretends to protect at least other conservatives, which it does not. Meanwhile, it ignores the damage done in the name of protection. The damage is intended. The claims of principles once held are disproven by the actions of those in office and the impact of those actions. Small government or big government, advocacy for family values or support of lasciviousness and family decimation, law and order or terrorism and anarchy. Let's consider one of the countless examples. For decades, a loudly self-proclaimed moniker has been that of pro-life. Pro-life? No. This is just clever marketing. The billionaire money backing the conservative political movement and their commercial expertise that has harvested such wealth has afforded proficient marketing. To be opposed to pro-life would suggest that one is pro-death or anti-life, which would be insane and invalidate credibility. It makes it extremely difficult to get some to consider the actual counterpoint. However, when does the term pro-life come up? Only in the context of the issue of abortion. Pro-life? Why are so many conservative legislators determined to proliferate the public with firearms?
We start today with a news alert. Within the last hour, behind closed doors, Governor Ron DeSantis signed the bill into law allowing permitless carry in Florida. Now, this gets rid of the requirement for a Florida resident to have a permit or training to carry a gun.
Ahead of the new legislative session that starts tomorrow, Florida House Republicans just filed a bill that would lower the age to buy a rifle in the state from 21 to 18. The bill would reverse a decision in 2018 by lawmakers to increase the minimum age from 18 to 21. That was following the Parkland school shooting.
It does require the person to carry a valid state ID, and gun safety groups do argue that letting people conceal carry without training will make people less safe. Some supporters, though, are calling for open carry. They say this without a permit, say this does not go far enough, and this new law will take effect July 1st.
Guns will be a major issue in this legislative session. House and Senate, they've already moved forward with concealed carry proposals.
They push a fantasy that it makes the public safer because the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, according to them.
And allow qualified school personnel on a voluntary basis to carry concealed weapons, because the quickest way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Because a gun, the only thing that's going to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Reality begs to differ. Gunmen have been de-escalated and apprehended without a shot fired, and well-armed police have been reluctant to engage a well-armed shooter. Where laws have been enacted to protect the public, they have in fact protected the public. The results are indisputable, which is why they avoid them and keep the conversation theoretical. The states with better gun control laws have fewer gun-related deaths. The same is true for countries around the world. Ask the cops. Ask them if they feel safer the more civilians are armed. The more people that are armed, the more people get shot. More civilians will get shot by civilians. More civilians will get shot by cops because the police will be on edge thinking that everyone is armed. And more cops will get shot. So much for backing the blue. More children die in the United States of America from gun-related deaths than by any other single cause. I repeat, more children in the United States of America die because of guns than by any other single cause. Yet conservative voters are conditioned by conservative legislators and conservative media to not look at the facts, only focus on the philosophical position. Lock yourself into confirmation bias and only pay attention to any story that might reinforce the fallacy, even as the number of gun-related deaths mount and they themselves feel as though a threat is closing in on them. They console themselves by insisting that they're prepared, locked and loaded. Those so conditioned will take greater offense at my pointing out the truth on the matter than they will over the unnecessary deaths caused by bad policy. Pro-life? No. Just anti-abortion. It's curious, though, that the majority of Americans, gun owners, and even conservatives want common sense gun law reform, and yet the conservative so-called representatives are even now passing laws that reduce restrictions instead, despite the will of their constituents, making life in America more dangerous. The same is true of abortion access. Yet conservative voters on program continue to listen to the lies told by their soothsaying echo chamber media and these non-representative representatives, and elect them back into office to continue to worsen their lives. They've been taught that to allow a liberal to be elected would be worse. In hard, practical, tangible terms, was your life worse under Obama or worse under Trump? The gun issue is just one of many that disprove the veracity of the pro-life moniker.
And we know now that government by organized money is just as dangerous as government by organized mob.